Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum. We welcome all of you to this beautiful day of Jumu'ah, to our program, second edition for the year, Jumu'ah Jules for the year 2025. With our hosts, myself, Yusuf Rafat, and my co-host, Qari Yusuf Osman, was hiding away there because today he's not feeling so well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him shifa kamila, ajila mustamira, inshallah. Normally he's the one that, leads the ship, leads the way. He's taking a bit of a backseat, but don't stress. He'll be with us, inshallah. He just preferred to be on the side because he's not feeling well. But nonetheless, people, let's head into it, inshallah. Today, we are very fortunate, as you could see the smiles on our face. Number one, because we have a guest. Number two, because this guest is someone that is very special to our hearts. And I'm sure every student here, throughout your education journey, you share a special attachment with all of your teachers, but sometimes there's an exclusive attachment to a particular teacher, a particular mentor, a particular person. And for us, we have that similar feeling, or rather we had that similar feeling when we had done our tertiary Islamic education at the Darul Ulum. We had this special and exclusive attachment to our Honorable Ustad, who's to my right, Mufti Muhammed Shaakir Ismail, who was our teacher and our mentor and our friend during our alim course. And really, I don't just say this to, to guests like this, they would say, or to, exaggerate in any way. But for myself personally, I think for as long as Mufti Sahib was my Ustad at the Darul Ulum, I really felt that Mufti Sahib was one of my favorite teachers. I love the lessons because it was always exciting. I love the lessons because it was, the guys were always getting grilled. We got to laugh, so it was nice. But without further ado, we welcome our guest to Jumu'ah Jules, his first experience. But for those of our students, you might know Mufti Muhammad Shaakir Ismail through his relationship with one of your teachers, and that is Qari Mahmoud Ismail. So Qari Mahmoud is our Quran educator for the Maktab and Madrasa, and this is the elder brother of Qari Mahmoud Ismail. He's also going to join us shortly. He's just running late. But without further ado, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yusuf and Sister Yusuf, mashallah, jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum and jazakumullah khairan to all your listeners and viewers and our dearest children. Nabi Sallallahu said that if somebody praises you, if you take some soil and throw it in their faces, there's no saying that can throw this coffee in their face.
I don't understand the crawling part. Alhamdulillah. So it was always exciting to be Mufti Sahib's class. Alhamdulillah, the humor, the excitement, the fun. Musab, your first experience in Jumu'ah Jules, Alhamdulillah, we hope inshallah it's not the last. But to kick off the program and commence, we request you to recite for us from the Noble Quran, inshallah.
I would have preferred for one of you to recite, but this is gaslighting.
This is guest lighting. Guest lighting.
Subhanallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله نور السماوات والأرض. مثل نوره كمشكاة فيها مصباح. المصباح في زجاجة. الزجاجة كأنها كوكب دري يوقد من شجرة مباركة زيتونة لا شرقية ولا غربية. يكاد زيتها يضيء ولو لم تمسسه نار. نور على نور. يهدي الله لنوره من يشاء. ويضرب الله الأمثال للناس. والله بكل شيء عليم. في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه يسبح له فيها بالغدو والآصال. رجال لا تلهيهم تجارة ولا بيع عن ذكر الله وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة. يخافون يوما تتقلب فيه القلوب والأبصار. ليجزيهم الله أحسن ما عملوا ويزيدهم من فضله والله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب والذين كفروا أعمالهم كسراب بقيعة يحسبه الظمآن ماء حتى إذا جاءه لم يجده شيئا ووجد الله عنده فوفاه حسابه والله سريع الحساب أو كظلمات في بحر اللج يغشاه موج من فوقه موج من فوقه سحاب ظلمات بعضها فوق بعض إذا أخرج يده لم يكد يراها ومن لم يجعل الله له نورا فما له من نور صدق الله العظيم.
MashaAllah, Tabarakallah.
Beautiful verses being recited. Allah.
Is anyone joining us from Houghton? And you will remember that Mr. Shaakir Ismail was the Houghton of the Imam of the Majul Furqani Houghton. He's part of the Houghton Imams, MashaAllah. Prior to his departure from New Zealand. And just a flashback as you were reciting. Mawla is obviously an alim that has done tremendous khidmah in South Africa prior to his departure to New Zealand, which we speak about. But I remember one night I was in Ramadan that my brother-in-law's place in Bradford. I think we were doing a 3-part khatam and we needed some help, we needed some kuffar to come help. So generally we would turn to those that are in nearby towns. But alhamdulillah, I remember you picking up the phone and you phoned to Shaakir and his friend Mohan Arafat, all the way from Malaysia, Karish. They drove all the way just to come here for 1 or 2 nights for Tarawih. So I'm happy with the Khatam, mashallah. So Allah's love for the Quran and his dedication to the Quran, something that always inspired us. Well, to kick off things, so for all of our listeners, generally we don't have our questions sent to our guests, just so that we can keep it informal and exciting. So it's not to put anyone on the spot, but so it becomes more of a discussion.
More pressure on us.
No. But we do prepare the questions, right? So there's no pressure on us. Moana has traveled extensively throughout the world for studies and for various purposes. Moana studied here in South Africa. Moana studied in Saudi Arabia. Moana studied in Sham, Pakistan, and now in New Zealand. And I always know Masur Mola in his bayan says, no, say different. You travel in the world and to open up your mind. In your experience, Moana, how has travel shaped your mindset as an individual, as an alim, as a father, as a parent, as an educator?
Subhanallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa alihi wa sahbihi wa wala amma ba'd. Speaking of Mawlana Sulaiman Samullah, he's also my first ustad. Hazrat completed his studies, then immediately he began teaching. So we were at his feet for 4 periods in a row. So from those days, I built a very close relationship with Mawlana Sulaiman Sahib. And until this day, and that relationship has grown to become more of an ukhuwa and a brotherhood. So we have a lesser of an ustad-student relationship and more of a brotherly relationship. Alhamdulillah. Fadal min Allah. And Maulana mentions one day in his bayan, I remember very clearly, I think it was in Houghton, that when your student completes, then that relationship then develops further. So that formality breaks down. Nonetheless, yesterday I was sitting with him and we had some lunch together. And Maulana mentioned to me on the aspect of traveling that he started his 2 sons with the Taraweeh. He used to send them out every year from a young age of 15 onwards. And he used to sponsor it himself, subhanAllah, and to different countries of the world for the very reason that benefited him. So that benefit will manifest itself later on in life. And it's only when you travel out, then do you realize that the world is a much bigger place than that small cocoon that you live in. I was sitting with one alim, it's just in this last week actually, and he said, and this happens to the humankind as such, we restricted to our mind space. So, on that specific topic, we were sitting once with some police people, in New Zealand. and they were talking about the drugs and the proliferation of drugs within society and things like that. So to my mind, I was like, there's so much of a restriction, there's so much of checking and border controls and biosecurity. It's on the next level. Australia, New Zealand, Canada, these places, they pride themselves on their border control. So how is these drugs coming in? So the police officer said to me, said, your mind is your own, is your restriction. Says, they find ways. So what happens is we become trapped in our mental space. And we have a very myopic vision. So we only see that which is in front of us. And when you go out and then you realize the world is a much, much bigger place than what we are, or what we think it is. Our everything, our customs, our culture, our application of the deen, the way we practice it, the way we see it, it's totally different. I remember a few years ago, I was at CII, I was doing an interview, and it was in the month of Ramadan, and we were with different guests from abroad, and giving us a bit of their experiences and a bit of the practical day-to-day Ramadan, practices and stuff. So the brother said to me that on the interview, he said the masajid, I was talking to a brother from Sudan. He said the masajid are 24 hours. At any given time, there's people that are just streaming in to recite Quran. And when I heard that, I'm saying, Allah, look at our masjids. Like, even in Ramadan, it's like just towards the Salat time, and maybe here and then we find a few other people. After Taraweeh, everyone's like dispersing, going back home in masajid alone, even in Ramadan. Maybe the last 10 days because of I'tikaf, it's open. But this is throughout the month of Ramadan, people are streaming in throughout the day, reading, reciting Quran, making dua, doing some form of ibadah. So, when we are just stuck here, although we have social media, but we're just more of an entertainment nowadays. But we don't use it as a reflection. But when you travel, you learn customs, you learn culture, you learn so many things. إِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ مِنْ ذَكَرٍ وَأُنْثَى وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. So that ta'aruf also happens with traveling as well. SubhanAllah. I mean, there's so much more that can be said on that aspect. It's just a little bit of what you learn people's mizaj, people's temperaments, how to interact with people, how to deal with people. Your method of interaction between us, I mean, we are all from the same area, the same place. In fact, all of us are from Indonesia lands, right? So there's a certain language, there's a certain style, there's a certain understanding. Everything is the same. In New Zealand, Muslims are 65 nationalities. The Muslims alone. We look in Arab countries, every Arab country is there. African countries, all of the African countries. From India, all of India. Pakistan, the whole of Pakistan. So you're dealing with different tabiyats and different customs and different ways and different ways of thinking, different mindsets. There's one brother, he comes to our masjid. When I look at this brother, I get scared. He gets this worry, and he looks like he's just walked out of it like a war zone. It's subhanallah. When you meet the brother, simple, humble, down to earth person. People, it's just the beauty of humanity.
So, Mufti, speaking specifically of New Zealand, and what would you deem to be the main differences when it comes to New Zealand versus South Africa in terms of the Islamic culture, the Islamic lifestyle, the activities, like Mufti already touched on the activities in the masajid, but it might have been comparative with Sudan. Now, in terms of speaking comparatively with New Zealand itself, and just the life of a Muslim in New Zealand in comparison to South Africa.
So the first glaring difference is that perhaps as a result of the apartheid, so there was not an influx of people coming in from across the world into South Africa back in the days. There's just, more predominantly the Gujaratis or in Cape Town, the Malays, and different, the majority of the segments of people. So we didn't have people from across the world coming in. So South Africa, the general norm, perhaps it's changing now. I mean, I'm 8 years out, so I may have my facts a little bit, skewed a bit for South Africa. But I know at least working in the masjid, mashallah, all of you are working in the masjid, you know that the musallis are on one level, or almost predominantly on one level. You can use euphemism, you can throw out certain phrases and certain statements and things, and then understand what you mean and what you're saying. So that the first glaring difference is that everybody is different. Every single person is different. There is a language barrier. Not everyone speaks English as the first tongue. So people are first generation migrants, and then you've got their children who are either like came with them young or some teenagers, and then you've got the next generation, which is some of them have come very young in infancy or perhaps being born there as well. So there's a generational gap. The first migrants, it's every language. So it's Urdu, then it's a different dialects of Urdu, then it's Gujarati, then it's Pashto, then it's Arabic, different dialects of Arabic. So the first big difference is that your communication is not on the same level as in South Africa. So you have to, we say in Urdu, you have to keep lihab, and you have to keep that in the back of your mind, that when you're speaking, you cannot be speaking with one brush, and your tone of speech, your language that you use has to be pitched at a level where your musallis are going to understand you. Otherwise, they're just going to sit there, either marvel at what you're saying, or just be like, okay, what is this guy doing? I don't understand him.
That poses a great challenge.
It's a massive challenge. It's a massive challenge. And that's where the tarbiyat of our Darul Ulums come in. And one of the, subhanAllah, coming back to your question, one of the benefits that I have personally seen in my life is that the different languages that we acquire. It's something that South Africans, perhaps we can pride ourselves in our Darul Ulums, is that English is our mother tongue. And then we go there, and obviously many of the Darul Ulums previously, maybe now it's a bit different, is the medium of instruction was in Urdu. So we got the Urdu, and those of us who had grandparents, we could communicate in Gujarati with them as well. And then obviously through the Darul Uloom, we would learn the Arabic. So these languages are kind of like it's like a staple. If you don't have this here, then you could somewhat be lost, or some of your musallis will be lost. So for me, subhanallah, as soon as I went, as soon as Allah took me, I was able, or my musallis were able to relate to me on that intimate level that Mona Yusuf was praising earlier and mentioning, because I was able to communicate to them in their language. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن رَسُولٍ إِلَّا بِلِسَانِ قَوْمِهِ. There is a reason for that. Sure. There's a reason for that. Allah sent the Anbiya with the lisan of their people. So the ability to flip between Urdu and then Gujarati and then Arabic, and then sometimes we know a bit of Pashto words and here and there. Just that, it immediately breaks down the barriers. Immediately. So now your Arab Musalli base doesn't look at you as a foreign person. Who's this guy? Okay, mashallah, he's leading us in our salah, and we'll keep him just as the Imam for salah. That's it. No, they can come to you, they can relate to you, you can communicate to them, you understand the culture, you understand their food, you can crack a joke with them in their language, you can have an informal discussion like we're having, and you are able to communicate to them in their language. That immediately breaks down barriers and creates that bond. Then they come to you with their problems as well. So they don't view you as somebody that's different or somebody that's foreign to them. That's the benefit and the beauty of the deen. And I always, especially for our students, we must, and in this capacity of as ulama and people in that level of leadership, is we need to upskill ourselves. We must upskill ourselves, especially when it comes to the lugha barrier, the language barriers. I mean, people from the Urdu speaking people, to be able to speak with them in their language. So one of the beauties or the benefits of all of this is everyone thinks that you are this. Everybody thinks that you are this. This is the maqsad of, and this was one of the ways of one of the methodologies of Nubuwwah and Sunnah, is that every Sahabi had an intimate connection with this of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. These are, just one or two things, inshallah.
And in terms of challenges, Mufti Sahab, what's maybe some of the main challenges facing Imams and ulama in New Zealand?
SubhanAllah, beautiful question. So given the myriad of, and given the backdrop that I've given you in terms of the people who are there, you have what is known as the bell curve. It's the shape of a bell. So it's called the bell curve. You start off at the bottom and you've got the very high and you've got the very low again. So you've got people on those levels. Those who have a very, very minimal and a very base level of Islamic knowledge, practice, understanding, and implementation. You have those who are at a high level. Likewise, academically speaking, also we have the so it's a total bell curve. So that poses some degree of challenges as well. Again, this is where the leadership comes into play, is your ability to anzil nasa manazila. You reduce yourself or you adjust yourself according to the person who's in front of you. Don't expect that person to adjust themselves to you. This is one of the problems in life today, is that we have this expectation that everybody must deal with me according to my message, according to my ways, my temperament, and my methodology. And we are not prepared to adjust ourselves to them. Imagine if Rasulullah had to, like, everybody must adjust themselves to the Nabi. There would have been no connection between Nubuwwah and between the Khalq. Rasulullah, what was his maqam? What is his maqam versus the Bedouins that would come to him and would harshly speak to him and would harshly deal with him physically as well? But he was able to adjust. So the challenges, that's the very big challenge, is that the application, the mindset, the dini understanding, the level of Islamic academia. This is something that as a point of reflection, that in this country and the likes, we have to be so grateful to our forefathers who had the vision of establishing the madrasas and the masjid together with the madrasa. So, I mean, our parents and their generation, they had passed through that madrasa system. So there is a general baseline of dini understanding in the mindset of people. And then it is built on when the radio stations came up in South Africa and the madrasas increased. So we could just build on that. But we're having people who are coming from, either they've come as refugees into New Zealand, or they have absolutely no Islamic academic background. I'm talking of, like, what I mean is that the back to basics, the ABCs of the deen. And then on the other hand, you've got the people who are, like, mashallah, the super academics. And likewise, even in terms of, profession-wise and dunyawi-wise as well, worldly-wise also. So it's that ability to be able to slot in and to be able to, adjust and to deal with everyone on that specific level. So that's why, like, we generally don't have foreign people coming in, generally. Subhanallah, in Houghton, I remember Mufti Adnan one day mentioned to me, say, Maulana, are you the Imam here or who's the Imam? But like for 2 months, I wasn't giving bayan. And subhanAllah, because we have so many ulama here, so much to be grateful for. We even call this person and call that person and call. Back home in New Zealand, 52 weeks, 52 bayans. So when I'm out, so when you guys call me, I'm like, I left home to come for holiday. Here you guys calling me for Jumu'ah.
I think Jumu'ah is a compiled book. Yeah, inshallah, once we get up. Why we have to paint a picture of our South African community in terms of Islam in New Zealand. You mentioned obviously there's a lot of foreigners into different type of cultural environment. But in terms of the infrastructure, the organizations, the seminaries, etc., we used to see Islam in terms of our environment, our setup, because we only think one thing. Where does New Zealand find itself at the moment, and what's the future?
People in New Zealand who've come from overseas, they always say this year that we are approximately 20-25 years behind, Islamic infrastructure-wise. Comparatively to South Africa, comparatively to the UK. So we are still very much in that, in those infancy stages. I mentioned to the people, I mean, I'm just using that phrase, that we are in New Zealand at this point in time, like in inverted commas, of course, I don't mean it in the literal sense, like the Sahaba of this place, of New Zealand. Because we are, the people who are there now are currently setting the foundation for the generations to come. So, we're still in the stages of building masajid. We need migration. People are getting stuck back home and doing what? Like, we need migration. We need the satis to come. We need the brothers in Tabligh to come. We need people in different faculties of deen to come. to come there and come with the niyyah of increasing the Muslim Ummah and being part of the spread of the deen. But Alhamdulillah, together with that, the ulama who are there are making a lot of effort, mashallah. Obviously, it's very much taxing. It's very much high pressure, high pressure, high pressure. You are as the imam, the nabi of your community. You do everything. It's not like, okay, you know what? I was hearing now recently in one of the areas, there's like two imams and they do imam and that's it. There's a social case in the community, the other one is there. No, you do everything. You do min al bidayah wal nihaya, A to Z is yours. So you're doing the bayans, you're doing the social cases, you're doing the janaza, you're doing the weddings, you're doing the divorces, you're doing the education, the maktab, the leaves, everything. So alhamdulillah, through the barakat of the younger ulama especially who've come, many of them completed now in South Africa as well. So in Auckland, specifically speaking, the mahol, what we call in Urdu, and the environment is a very beautiful environment. If you come there as a Muslim, you won't feel like you're in a foreign space because, mashallah, there is a strong, a strong influence of the younger ulama and the ulama in general also, and the work of da'wah and tabligh also. Many masajid have come about. So, mashallah, Qari Mahmoud was just there this last Ramadan. So the vibe in Auckland is different. Auckland almost feels like a different place when you comparative to other parts of the country. The minute you leave Auckland, then you really feel, hey, you know what, I'm out of the country as such. Alhamdulillah, there's good effort of being that is taking place. Now, alhamdulillah, we have this 2 Darul Ulooms for boys, and there's 2 Darul Ulooms for girls as well. Last year, 2024, was the first Bukhari Khatam Jalsa in the history of Muslim. And that also, the 2 girls Darul Ulooms. One of our Sadi and Abbas Safullah Music Area. Yeah, we had the honor of inviting him. He accepted our invite and he came for the Khatam. Mashallah, it was just beautiful, but it almost felt like the whole environment and landscape has now changed. It's like a change in the historical timeline of New Zealand from a dini perspective as well. There was a lot of Nurani, a lot of barakat, a lot of spirituality at the time because there's 2 jalsas that took place in the space of 1 week. Bukhari jalsas. This is amazing, subhanAllah. So there is a lot of what we call harkat, There's a lot of harkat and there's a lot of activities taking place. Our, maybe controversial, but our sisters are very active. Our sisters are very active in our masjid. Mahmoud was there as well last year. Our sisters are active in the masjid. I'm not advocating, please, just don't condemn me. Our sisters are very active. They have the programs and we give them the space, mashallah. They're doing the programs and, in the independence. Obviously, we have Ishraf and we are monitoring what's going on and stuff. So they have the durus taking place, either weekly dars and sometimes a daily dars. In fact, in our maktab at the masjid, we have more girls than boys. It's 130 plus minus girls and even about 60 boys. Inshallah. So, mashallah, they have the autonomy. They do it, and obviously with consultation and stuff like that. So the sisters in general in New Zealand, there's a lot of harka among the sisters as well. But alhamdulillah, which is good. And obviously with guidance as well. It's not just like it's a free flow situation and stuff like that.
So I have 2 questions. Based on your experience now. First, both training towards Nasir activity. One is I always say that perspective is everything, and your reality is based on a perspective. So, in terms of the advice to the South African community in general, so for those that have not perhaps traveled and seen the world, or read widely, or viewed being differently, understood it holistically, that how can they become more aware of the reality that our deen is all-encompassing view. Not only a mode of life, but a civilization that's supposed to guide all 8 billion beings that are here and in all ways of time. So an advice on how a person can bring that awareness, if they cannot travel, how else can they bring that awareness? And then the second one is for our educators. So Mufti mentioned that in New Zealand, you can see that when you copy of citizens in front of 65 nationalities. So Like you, alhamdulillah, we're in over 30 countries now. We're in all 9 provinces of South Africa. So before we give an example, we were teaching my alma mater, LMS, for example, like the people of Lens, especially the products. So now it's at one type of student. Like maybe the people of Houghton are like pine nuts, whatever it might be.
Which is better, pineapples or bananas?
Yeah, depends on your perspective. Depends on your perspective, right? So yeah, we have all. So basically, we have from all 9 provinces. So there's a whole variety of learners from diverse backgrounds, broken homes, or reverts, and in foreign countries, experts. So we have this vast area of learners that you perhaps will not know the full detail behind them or understand their background because their name on a screen or the training class like that. And each and every we have 2,500 students on this. That is a big. So how can a teacher now, not fully knowing the circumstances of the child, but being aware in the back of the mind that I do have this vast area of learners, how can they tailor their lesson and address their approach or methodology so they can effectively get that message across to the learners in terms of the lessons itself and also the strong Islamic values and ethos that we drive as an institution.
SubhanAllah, Malana, both of those aspects and areas are very big and very broad, inshallah. I think one, may Allah forgive us in that we say, one very important point we need to understand is that Islam is one. The deen is one. Whether you are in South Africa, whether you are in New Zealand, Australia, anywhere in between, Islam is one. It is for all. We have, and that's the beauty of the deen versus the other isms and the other faiths, is that it was very time specific, era specific, and people specific. But the deen of Islam is not time or era or people specific. Is whether you are Arab, whether you're non-Arab, whether you are, brown, white, yellow in color, whatever your color, whatever your denomination, your financial standing, wherever you are across the world. So sometimes, we hear this a lot. People throw this word around, the Kiwi Islam. It's New Zealand calling it Kiwi Islam or Kiwi version of Islam. I don't like that phrase, because why? Islam is one. There's no such a thing as Kiwi Islam. But do you want to tailor make your Islam to suit your Kiwiism? And that concept goes wherever you are. So people have this, let's tailor make our Islam to suit who we are. And Islam is one for all. That's one point to understand. Second thing is that the deen hasn't come to contradict our cultures. The Arabs also, they were Arabs before they were Muslim. They had their culture also. But the deen came and the Sunnah is there, Sharia is there to give us parameters. To give us, the yellow line and the white line. We operate within these parameters. So for example, we can sit here and go, debate for the next 2 hours whether this libas is Sunnah or that libas is Sunnah or that libas is Sunnah. And everybody will have the big dalail and big fatawa. And then you go across the world and somebody is wearing the lungi and wearing a simple shirt looking kind of a top. So what do we say? That's not the Sunnah. So the deen has given us parameters. Parameters of modesty, parameters of covering the body. I'm just using this as an example. Understand? And the deen hasn't come to contradict our specific cultures or customs, but it has given us these parameters. So as long as we're not treading on those lines, alhamdulillah, we can continue living. We're eating our food, we have our customary foods that we do, our customary certain practices, as long as it doesn't, violate those finer lines of the deen. For example, the music, whatever else, what I mean. That's important for us to understand in the broader context of who we are, in the broader context of us being as Muslims, whether we are here or whether we are abroad. Okay? What's very important, in fact, I was listening to one of the talks, was at Mama Rahman Saddam Barakatuh. He was saying that when you start teaching hadith, then you start living through the lives of the Sahaba and through the life of Nubuwwah. So maybe a starting point for us, to address the first question is that when we start reading more about the lives of the Sahaba and the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that's why the ulama make mention that you should be reading at least one seerah book per year, at least. So what happens is that your perspective now and your worldview is no longer just this SA-centric worldview or PV-centric worldview or UK-centric worldview or whatever, Arab-centric worldview. Your worldview now becomes a Sunnah-centric worldview and a Dini-centric worldview, because now you're living it through the lens of the lives of the Sahaba and the lives of the Prophet. I mean, the ulama who are teaching hadith, they will be able to experience this on a daily basis. Allah Ta'ala has blessed us now in this last 2 years now to be part of the Darul system. And every single, and although we passed it, we went through it through our student days, but I was telling them last night that you forget most of it, what you learned. And now when you're going through it again, and ya Allah, I mean, look at this beauty of this deen is right in front of us, and we are took it so far away. You know, I think I was listening to Mufti the other day, he was mentioning that we need to keep on reading. So the more you read, the more you are able to remind yourself of where we are, our turath, our heritage. When we lost our heritage, now we're searching for guidance. And we're searching it in the wrong places. And because we are so flooded with the Western cultures and ways and with the social media, that has become our identity. Our identity is supposed to be the identity of the Sunnah and the Sharia. I'm making mention, I'll come to my last question, I'll just know the second part. Is that our internal program? What is your software? You have Android or you have iPhone. So that's your software. Or you have Windows. What is our internal software needs to be Sunnah. Until your hawa, meaning your software, your programming is programmed in tune to Sunnah. So that's the one, Allah grant. Forgive us if we're saying anything wrong right on time. Second one is when you are in this position of ta'aleem, then you need to also be able to understand the Sunnah methodology of teaching. And we can take inspiration from our elders who are teaching in Maktab, our seniors. We must talk to them. We must take guidance from them. Why? And one thing they will tell you is that you need, as an ustad, as a leader, whether you are ustad in QA, whether you are ustad in the maktab on site, whether you are an imam in the masjid, is you are not dealing with the person and you know what, I'm giving you this bag and we take it, it's you for you and me for me. No. You are dealing with the lives of the people. So are you able to enter, not to be inquisitive, but you're entering into his space or your student's space to understand their mind and connect with that student on that level. Then you will be able to win the heart of that student, wherever they come from in the world. I'll give you one example now. Muhammed knows this boy. One of our students is, he has ADHD. And he's extremely hyper, and nobody can manage him. Nobody manages him. From the school, there's only 2 people who can manage this boy. Even his parents can manage him, 2 people, myself and my wife. So from the school also, they'll phone the wife and say, you know what, Papa, this guy is playing. It's no kamal. The kamal is that you're not synchronizing with the wavelength of your student. I always tell my ustads that are teaching under us, you as a ustad have to develop the ability to create a frequency, like a bandwidth or frequency, a radio frequency, which is specific to you and your student, individually. When you can do that, you deal with every student as per that frequency. It takes time, it's not just a quick setting. So it takes an effort from your side and it takes an effort from their side. But if you understand that you need to do this and you build this frequency between you, ustad, and student, wherever your student is, then inshallah you win the person. To the point where, subhanAllah, this some students of mine, Karim Mahmoud met them all when he came. I would just give an ishara, a signal through my eyes, and the boy will know exactly what's to be done. Because you build the frequency. I'll show you out if I need to sort of this. He knows exactly how I want it. Exactly how. So, as an ustad, you're not just taking up an employment. You must understand this. We are answerable to a higher authority. You're not answerable to QA. QA is just a means or a suburb in between that's keeping us accountable because they are more further accountable. But we as ulama and as people who are in this position of leadership and teaching, we are answerable to a higher authority. Once I've signed my contract and I know my JD job description and whatever else is expected or wanted of me, that's the baseline. Are you going over and above what is on your plate? That's the problem. There's no qurbani. There's no sacrifice. Everyone is just wanting to cover the legs. That's not. Cover your back, get your paycheck, and leave the rest on. Our deen doesn't work like that. The jazba of qurbani, the jazba of sacrifice is gone. Gone. So we are only doing what is on the paper. That's it. We have to go above and beyond. We have to rise up above. We have to do more than what it, because we're not doing it to get the paycheck. We are doing it because this is the deen that's in between. It's not like a 9 to 5 job where you're going to a shop and you're pushing pen and paper, or you're going to a desk and pushing pen and paper. Yes, this is the means of your livelihood, of course. But I was talking to them last night. I said, mashallah, it's your livelihood. So what are you doing extra for your deen? What are you doing extra for your deen? You're getting paid for it. So tomorrow when you come to your akhirat, you can't negotiate with Allah. Allah, I did this work of deen. You got paid for it, so finish. Your remuneration is done. What are you doing additional? Additional over and above that for your akhirat, which you are not asked and required to do. But that's where the kamal of a teacher comes in. Allah Ta'ala forgive us all.
Before we later, just few maybe some light-hearted questions. So they say New Zealand resembles South Africa.
Responses all kept everything. We forgot his stomach pain, everything was gone.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. I was going to make a comment. I was going to say, when Mufti mentioned that, people are just doing what's on paper for a paycheck. I was going to say, my son was probably going to say, people aren't even doing the things that's on paper.
Shaakir never realized sitting with our HODs infants apart. Make it worth.
Make it worth it, guys.
On Jumu'ah jewels, we all friends. Mashallah.
I get very disheartened sometimes because I guess maybe it's a generational thing. I mean, our tarbiyah was on a different level. And what we see today nowadays is just it's shocking, it's saddening. I mean, Mona Suleiman was mentioning yesterday, he was dealing in one case. So they got married, this couple, and you can understand the mindset from here. And we talked of just pen and paper. The couple got married. For 1 year, the boy's mother is making food for the boy alone. The girl's mother is making food for the girl alone. For 1 year. After that, the husband asked the wife to prepare one sandwich for him. She asked, so look how far we have not drifted away. We have just we've lost the plot entirely. He asked her to make a sandwich for her. So she could technically argue that it's not my duty. Well, she said, no, but then you have to do a chore for the house. One sandwich. He asked her to iron his stove. So then you have to hang the novel. Okay. If my Nabi was alive today, if the Sahaba were alive today, and they see the mindset we're living in, they don't go insane. They want so. Because فبما نقضي ميثاقهم لعناهم وجعلنا قلوبهم قاسية يحرفون الكلمة عن مواضعه ونسوا حظا مما ذكروا به. We have allowed this bridge, this canyon to become bigger and bigger and bigger between us and our deen, our Quran and our Sunnah and the lives of Sahaba. So the canyon has gone bigger and bigger. As a result, ونسوا حظا مما ذكروا به. We forgot everything. Now we're looking for guidance. Where are we looking for it? ولا تزال تطلع على خائنة منهم إلا. Sorry, Mawlana, back to your question.
No. Is the myth true that there are more sheep than humans in New Zealand?
1:10. 4.5 million people, 45 million sheep.
Yeah, sir. I was looking at the scalp, and we now would visit
19 breeds of sheep. 19 breeds of sheep. So the sizes and shapes and colors you haven't seen.
I can just
Subhan-
picture, chops in Qari Ihsan's eyes now, and he's thinking of 19 breeds, like, yeah,
Why you
salam,
saying Karesan? You think of yourself.
Hey, there's an understanding, mashallah.
But what makes the New Zealand wool so exclusive? Nowadays we talk of Masjid Kaaba, everyone speaks about New Zealand wool.
Everything is very pure. Everything, the air is very pure. Everything is very natural, organic. Wallah, you have not seen chickens in your life the size of this New Zealand.
Subhanallah.
Those chickens look like they're going to the jump. I'm telling you, the first thing that shocked, I was like, what is this chicken?
What did they say in South
Have
Africa?
you seen the Pacifica people? The mashallah,
Yeah,
they're big
yeah.
size people. Everything is organic. So the air is clean, the water is clean, everything is fresh, everything is organic. So naturally, we're going to have that. quality.
How's Mufti Saab's interaction with the Maori people?
Alhamdulillah, very good interaction. Very down to
They,
earth.
they always seem like they're very approachable people, very likable people.
Gentle giants. They look big in size, but they're good people. They're people of a faith. They have a culture behind them. They have a culture, so they can easier to take to the deen than other people. Sure, as well. To give you an example of their good nature and good heart. When the Christchurch thing took place, I'm not sure with your time, you just guided me probably. When the Christchurch thing took place, one of my not a Muslim directly from another masjid, but he's always in talks and consultation on himself. It's quite close. He was up north, one of the towns, and he was coming down. So he stopped at a filling station. So on the Friday when it took place, when Madran Shuhada, Jannah, 51 people. So anyway, it was coming down. He stopped at the filling station. So his wife was busy filling the car. He was gone inside to the shop. And from inside the shop, he sees this huge Maori brother. Yeah, it's a huge Maori brother. He went up to his wife and gave her a bear hug. And he's like, what must I do? A big bear hug. Like, as he ran to the guy, what? So he came out of the shop, he came there. When the Maori brother saw him, he gave him also a big bear hug.
Sure.
But what's interesting about it is that this was like up north in Whangarei, which is like, 2 hours flight, for example, at least from. And he was so apologetic. It's like, you know what, this is not us. This is not New Zealand. We are not this, like they say, you are most welcome in our country. You are us, like, kia kaha, we are one. Kia kaha, we are one. SubhanAllah. So that's the Maori people, mashallah.
Sure.
Or any personal interactions with the sports icon, Sanibel Williams? You can share with our youth here, our listeners.
There is one picture that CNN took at the time of Christchurch. That thing is doing its round through hours. Every time Sunny Williams comes, they put that picture of myself there, Ahmed. Like there's no other picture of the guy. This is the same picture for how many years? It's just continuously spinning up. Mashallah. And because he's all the time on travels and he's in Australia and stuff, so there isn't much contact with him. There were just a very few runnings, but not many because of his travels and stuff.
Sab, if we visited New Zealand one day, what's one special place you would tell us that we have to go there? Our trip will be incomplete if we don't go there.
SubhanAllah.
One is Mufti Saab's home, inshallah. But apart from that,
That's like trying to choose between which hand to choose on. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, the scenery in New Zealand is that magazine scenery. It's proper, picture perfect magazine scenery. I went to one doctor now the other day, last week, on Monday actually, and in his reception as well, there's massive, artwork there. So when I went inside, I asked him, doctor, you know where the picture is from? They said, no, I just liked it and I bought it. I said, it's from New Zealand. It's like, if you're doing a road trip, when you come to a site, I was like, wow, subhanallah, fatabarakallah, you're just blown away with the scenery. You go to the next one, it's like, ya Allah, you forgot about that one, this is even better. The color of the water, the sand on the ocean sand, the beach sand, got the white sand, the brown sand, the golden sand, the black sand, which is volcanic. There's non-wave beaches, wave beaches, the wild west beaches. You got there's mountainous terrain. There's the glaciers. Glaciers is something that's not all over the world. There's a few places. There's glaciers you can actually see it. The glaciers. Then you got the desert dunes as well. Few places you can bodyboard down dunes as well into the ocean. It's like it's too much.
It sounds like things that we do.
It's too much, too much.
So New Zealand is beautiful. It is a lot of scenery, beautiful people, beautiful culture. But what's that one thing when you sit in New Zealand, you're like, ish, I wish I was in South Africa.
Or one thing from South Africa you wish you could take to New Zealand. That's another person, but it's like because people, inshallah, would like to,
And not
like
leeches.
everyone to be there.
Not leeches. I think maybe I'm just a bit different. When I see people putting up flags on their hometowns, I ask myself, why you came? I know that the human nature is such that we have a very close connection with your home, however long you are away from it. Like as soon as you come to your home, you immediately, like in the next second, you're back into because you're born there. So that connection is fitri. It's part of your nature. But we, like, as I said earlier on, we are, our objective of mind is on a different level. So when you know the reason for why you're going, why you're there, people who have come from many parts of the world, they came because they thought it's greener pastures. So they came with a title of DR, meaning doctor, and they ended up with DR, meaning drivers, because they didn't get the licenses to practice as a doctor. So then they have mental health issues and depression and stress. But you came from your place where you were able to come because you were fortunate enough. The less fortunate people are suffering still. Yeah? You were fortunate, Allah gave you education, you had a profession, mashallah, you had your surgery running and everything. You may even have your house there, but you were not grateful for that. You wanted to come in the greener pastures and you wanted a better life for yourself, for your children. You came here, you couldn't get the license to practice as a doctor, but the same doctors have become drivers. So many like that. But when you came with the right intention, then there's nothing that can be a challenge for you. Many people call me and they think, Mama, I'm going to come, what do you think? And, what's the process? I listen, Baji, mashallah, New Zealand is nice, but it's not Jannah. And our South African people, they say there's 3 Eids in the year. Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha, and Eid al-Ruju' al-Khadim. When the Khadimas goes, the servants go home in December, the houses are closed. Because we can't function without the Khadima. What is this, Sesha? If you are ready to wash your own dishes and do your own laundry and iron your own clothing and wash your own cars and clean your own toilets, فَبِهَا أَهْلًا وَسَهْلًا. We welcome you and we give you the ropes. You can't do that, please stay home.
That's a lie.
As a person,
We can't forget that one.
as a person, I personally don't miss any of the foods, anything. The only thing I miss is 2 things. One is obviously family. And the second thing is because we have a shortage of people in terms of ulama. So when there's big programs, for example, like the Sira Jalsa this weekend, and similarly when big ulama come, and you feel like, okay, you know what, you don't have that ability to take that benefit, then you that's the moment where you feel a little bit missing it. But otherwise, you know that you're there for a specific purpose. You're there to be part of the spirit of the deen that Allah accepted from all of us, inshallah. There's no time. There's no time to mope. There's no time to be stressed. There's no time to be depressed. There's no time to think of these unnecessary things. Maybe we can end off with this year as a believer, we have to have an akhirat-centric gaze. We've become so dunya-centric. That's the kuffar. ذَلِكَ مَبْلَغُهُم مِّنَ الْعِلْمِ. The entire calculation is this dunya. Understand? How can they enjoy the best of the world? So every week they must be able to go for their parties, the kitchens must be closed, they must have their alcohol and everything, and they must have enough for the insurance and the house and the car, and they must have enough for the holidays, then they're successful. Because that's the sum total of the entire mindset. But for us, it's akhirat. We're looking at the akhirat. We're not looking here. We're looking there. But we have become so engrossed in this temporary dunya, we forgot. I said, may Allah forgive us. Sometimes when the people ask me, "Where are you from?" I say, "I'm from Jannah." So I just cut out the whole, like essay and rain essay and lands and this and that. Because we came from there and we're going back. I say it with 2 intentions. One is as a joke. I mean, I like to, make people break the barriers. And if I say that, that stress is gone. They start laughing. Alhamdulillah, I do that with an intention. Second intention is that, who knows, maybe there's one angel who's saying Amin at the time. So maybe Allah Ta'ala will put us there into Jannah, inshallah. Then after that, we'll go, yeah, from Salah. But when I talk to them in Urdu, they think I'm from Pakistan. I talk to them in Urdu, they think I'm from India. I talk to them in Arabic, they think I'm from the Arabic countries.
Inshallah. I thought you were gonna say maybe today you want to end off with a dhikr. We must ask Ustad if he learned how to do the Hakka.
You'll be surprised.
Hey, mashallah, mashallah. I think our time
Maintain
is
the dignity until now.
that's for when the camera goes off. Just jokes, just joke. But I think we can inshallah end off with just taking the blessed name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this final moment. As if you were with us the entire time, our beloved Ustad, if you were listening to the nature of the discussion and how Mufti Sahib constantly mentioned where our gaze should be, where our focus should be, where's your heart? Where's your soul? Where's your mind? Is it in something that's limiting you? Is it in the phone? Is it in social media? Is it your education? Is it food? Is it something that will have an expiration date? Or is it actually something that has been eternalized, some place that has that eternal aspect to it, that is Jannah. So we take the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we take the kalima of La ilaha illallah with the hope that, oh Allah, as we are reciting this kalima now, we let it be the last words that we recite, let it be words that we live by, words that we understand, words that we internalize, words that we pass on to others, and words that will ultimately bring your mercy, O Allah, so that we can enter the gardens of Jannah. لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله عليه صلاة الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله عليه صلاة الله بها يثبت الإيمان بها يحصل الأمان كرر أيها الإنسان لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله عليه صلاة الله تكرارها ما أحلاه ما أبهاه ما أعلاه تدني العبد من مولاه لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله عليه صلاة الله هي شفاء الصدور هي نور على نور ذكر ربك الغفور لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله عليه صلاة الله ask our Ustaz to kindly end off with a dua for us, inshallah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما صليت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما باركت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى ال سيدنا مولانا محمد صلاة تنجينا بها من جميع الاهوال والافات وتقضي لنا بها جميع الحاجات وتطهرنا بها من جميع السيئات وترفعنا بها عندك عن الدرجات وتبلغنا بها اقصى الغايات من جميع الخيرات والحياه بعد الممات انك على كل شيء قدير. ربنا ظلمنا انفسنا وان لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكون من الخاسرين. اللهم انت ربنا لا اله الا انت خلقتنا ونحن عبيدك ونحن على عهدك ووعدك ما استطعنا نعوذ بك من شر ما صنعنا ونبوء لك بنعمتك علينا ونبوء بذنوبنا فاغفر لنا فانه لا يغفر لنا الا انت. اللهم ان لنا ذنوبا فيما بيننا وبين خلقك فيما بيننا وبينك وذنوبا فيما بيننا وبين خلقك. اللهم ما كان لك منا فاغفره وما كان لخلقك منا فتحمله عنا واغننا بفضلك انك واسع المغفره. ربنا اتنا في الدنيا حسنه وفي الاخره حسنه وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم اجعل اجتماعنا هذا اجتماعا مرحوما
آمين.
واجعل تفرقنا من بعد تفرقا معصوما ممنونا ولا تجعل فينا ولا منا ولا معنا شقيا ولا محروما. سبحان ربك رب العزه عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين.
Respected viewers and listeners, yes, Moulana had touched on the aspect of, the value of teachers and how he must assist teachers when he is in New Zealand. I think for us, we value our Ustad here today. Even though we are in South Africa, we value every time Moulana comes to our shows and Moulana comes to visit us in South Africa. And really, I think everybody found this session to be very beneficial, spiritually uplifting and exciting. But for us as Moulana students, it just brought us back into the classroom environment at the days that we spent in the Jamia. And we make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects Moulana wherever he is in the world. May Allah use him and continue to use him and uplift him for the sake and the service of his deen, inshallah. May Allah likewise do the same for us and for all those that are in the ulama fraternity. People, until we meet next week, inshallah, from us, the Jumu'ah Jules team, fi amanillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.